What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the We Are Gunsmith podcast. You already know who it is. It's James Mooney. Welcome back for another episode. I appreciate each and every one of you for even taking the time to check this out and support the podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Before we get too far into this, though, quick reminder, if you're new to the podcast or if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, all that good stuff. As pointless as it may seem, it actually really truly helps the podcast grow and reach new people. It helps us get on some lists, recommended podcasts. It helps really with analytics and stuff. As stupid as it is through social media nowadays, the analytics, it's necessary. Anyway, don't want to keep rambling on about that because that's just boring shit. Also, quick reminder, Gunsmith Clothing, when you're listening to this right now, we just released 3 brand new trucker hats on the website. So we got some really good deals as well. We got mystery boxes. You can really save a ton of money on the mystery box. Really helps us out too because we get to clear out some inventory that we're trying to get rid of. So yeah, gunsmithbrand.com is where you can get all that. So enough with the plugs, enough with the kind of business shit of it. This week's episode is actually a little bit different. As you can see if you're watching this on the YouTube one, I'm actually not in the studio. I am in my apartment. This is where I sit. This is the couch I sit on to watch Game of Thrones. So it's got some good memories on it. But yeah, not in my house or not in the studio right now because we're still in the process of moving. We've been moving for the last couple weeks. Also been traveling, so haven't had time to set up the new studio as much all the way. And I also haven't had time to actually sit down with any guests lately. Just been traveling a lot, been moving, so been super busy. So I don't have a guest this week. So it's actually just me and me alone. All right, just me and you guys. A little different. I still wanted to get a podcast out though because I did not want to go through a lull because you get into a habit. Like it's a nasty thing that happens with human nature. Like as soon as you take a break from something, and it happens with everything, like the gym, your diet, school, work, you go on a little layoff a little bit longer than you planned, or like even like a couple days. Like I remember when I was going to school, the weekends were so fast, and you immediately, like waking up on Monday was so rough. It was so rough to wake up at 7 a.m. or whatever time you woke up to go to school, because the last 2 days you'd been sleeping in. So your body had become accustomed. Like super quick, you reverted out of that habit. So it's like a nasty habit, and it happens with the gym too. Like you take like an extra day, or if you take a day where you don't do anything and you come back to the gym the next day, you feel terrible for like at least the first half of that workout, right? Because you're just stiff, you're sore, like you don't want to move. Your body doesn't want to move. It's reverted to a state of not doing shit. And so the same thing happens with this. Like if I take a week off of this and I'm like, I don't have a guest this week, I don't really have a topic this week. If I take a week off and I'll just be like, I'll go next week. And then next week comes around, maybe I'm just like, I skipped last week too. Like they won't even notice if I miss this week too. I'll just put it off again. And so it becomes this fucking snowball effect. And is even like if you're super dedicated and super like strong-willed, you deep down you still have that little trigger. For some reason, it's something I think in our psyche that does that. I don't even know what it is exactly, but just taking a little bit of time off or getting out of your habit for a tiny bit, sometimes it just throws you for a loop. And so I didn't want that to happen. So I'm trying to get really consistent with this podcast. I'm trying to really grow it up. I got some awesome guests lined up. It's just scheduling them has just been super difficult lately. Just because like I said, we've been moving. I've been traveling a lot. I'm traveling the next 2 weeks as well. So I'm just moving around, and so it's hard to actually get the time to sit down and have like a legit, meaningful conversation with people. Plus the people I'm trying to get that are like for the future, their schedules are just insane. But it'll be awesome, and I swear they are coming. Some really good guests not that the guests that we've had so far have been like bad or anything. No, I'm so stoked with the guests that we've had on this podcast so far, and it's just going to continue to grow and to continue to steamroll. But sometimes maybe this will become part of the thing. Like every now and then, it'll just be me talking to you guys, because maybe that'll become a thing. I don't know. Rob mentioned something like maybe that would be a good idea. So today, no guest, just me. But there's actually a couple things I wanted to touch on. Like a couple things have happened recently in my life that I think actually deep down have some like meaningful, I don't know, takeaways. And I was talking to Rob about this last week when we were driving up to Eugene to watch the U of O game. And I was telling him some stuff, like catching up, because we hadn't talked in a while. So I was telling him some things that were going on with me, and he's like, "Oh, dude, that would be like, you should make a video about that." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll make a video about it." But then I was thinking about it, I was like, maybe I'll make a podcast about it. I'm already making a video for YouTube. The podcast is a video that I throw on YouTube as well, so maybe this will add some value. So what I want to talk about though recently, I don't know, if you follow me on social media, you know this. About 2 weeks ago, I signed with a friend of mine, Martin Ford. I signed with his supplement company, Ignite Nutrition. He's starting up a supplement brand, and it's kind of based and geared more towards athletes as opposed to bodybuilders. And so the demographic that he's looking at trying to target is a little bit different. So he's going for a slightly different demographic, more athletic based, more performance based, not necessarily bodybuilding. I mean, they're still targeting bodybuilders, obviously, because bodybuilders buy supplements, but it's not just bodybuilders that buy supplements nowadays, and I think a lot of companies kind of are starting to realize that. And the big bulky mass monster look is not something that people are going for. A lot of people are going for more of an athletic look. People are doing more like CrossFit style stuff, more functional stuff, and that's really kind of a push. Like, people don't really necessarily want to get massive. They want to improve their performance. They want to improve their squat. They want to improve their clean. They want to improve their mile time. They want to do all this stuff. And so his whole goal behind that is to target that group. And so he's putting out a lot of things that are performance based. I think the only supplement that they have available on their website right now is kind of a recovery thing, a recovery post-workout drink. It's got protein, it's got carbohydrates, it's got joint supplements in it, it's got amino acids, it's got electrolytes, it's got all this cool stuff that normal pre-workout or normal post-workout nutrition shakes don't have. Most post-workout or protein powders are just protein. It doesn't have like joint stuff or electrolyte stuff, and so it's cool. It's a cool concept that he's going for, and I'm stoked to be a part of it. And I'm honored that he considered me when he was trying to put a team together. And so I've known Martin for almost like 4 years now, ever since I first got with 5%. We met at the Olympia back in 2015. I think that was his first Olympia with 5%. It might have been the first Olympia that 5% was at. And so we met there briefly. He was hounded by people. People were just like rushing all over him because it was like the first time he'd been at one of these fitness expos, I think. And so we just met briefly, and then we would talk every expo. We would run into each other and talk a little bit, and what I wanted, like, it's cool how that relationship developed, and I think it's an underrated part of that people kind of like neglect nowadays. And when social media first came out, it was like a networking thing. It was a way to keep in touch and meet new people. And I think it's kind of sort of become almost more of a like a show and tell kind of thing. It's almost not even necessarily about the interaction with the people. It's more about just, I'm gonna throw all this content out online, and you're gonna see my bikini pics or my car picture or the, you know, me out to dinner with the wife. You're gonna see all these pictures and all these videos of me, and I just want you to like them. Like, I don't really care who you are or who's liking it. I don't care who's interacting with it. I really just want you to like it, you know. And so it's gone away, I think, from the social media aspect to now people don't even care who's following them. They more so just care, they care what the number of people is that's following them. They don't care about the quality of the people that are interacting. They just want to see that like meter go up. They want to see the comments come in. They don't even necessarily care, and I'm generalizing, obviously. I'm generalizing. Not everyone's like this. But the broad stroke of the trend in social media is that people just want the likes. They don't care who's interacting with their photo. They don't necessarily even go out and comment on other people's photos. They just kind of scroll through and like. And I've been guilty of that in the past. I think we all are. It's easy a trap to fall into, you know. People talk about the psychological aspect of getting likes and interaction on social media, and how it's kind of become like an addiction. You get like a rush, an endorphin rush or something out of it. And so I think that's the kind of the trend now is social media has become more of social media as opposed to social networking. And I think networking has become kind of a lost art, and I think people kind of take it for granted and don't really understand the ramifications of that in the long term. And I think that also goes into, you know, kind of immediate return kind of thing. So we're a type of person that likes to get, it's just in our DNA, we nowadays, that if you don't get immediate return out of something, it's not worth doing. You know, like I don't want to say the easy way, but, you know, everything's marketed now like 5-minute abs, 10-minute abs, you know, do this diet, lose this amount of weight in 30 days, you know, become successful overnight, become a millionaire tomorrow kind of thing. And it's all, you know, right now. I want something right now. I want my success right now. I don't want to necessarily have to think about the work or, you know. And so it's kind of become a trend now, I think, that, you know, if something doesn't propose to give you an immediate return, it's not worth doing. And I know these kind of seem like scattered points, but I'm going to kind of bring them all together here in a second, because they all interact with each other. So if it's become kind of, you know, if there's not an immediate return, I don't want to necessarily take the time to do that, because I need to focus elsewhere, or wherever that may be. And so, getting back to my story, Rob and I, when we first started Gunsmith back in 2015, we kind of made a commitment to ourselves that we're going to go to as many expos or events as possible, because we wanted to. The goal was to build the brand, right? We'd already developed a decent social media following, and so we wanted to now meet people in real life and kind of let them get to meet us, get to know us, see that we're real people, see that we're not bullshitting on social media. And so we made a commitment that we're going to go to as many events as possible. And so the idea behind that was meeting as many people as possible, right? And at this point in time, and still, we weren't making money off Gunsmith. Everything that we were making off sales was going right back into the company to invest in new product, and kind of help develop and build the brand. Everything that we did in association with Gunsmith, you know, traveling to events, that was paid for out of our pockets. Like, Rob and I would pay for our plane tickets to go places. We'd pay for our hotels and stuff out of our pockets. And so that's an investment. That's a monetary investment, especially when you consider the fact that airfare is not cheap and hotels are not cheap, and all these expos and events are all over the place. Like, they're not all just driving like down the road and I'm there. Like, you got to go to Columbus, Ohio. You got to go to Vegas. You got to go to LA. you know, you got to go all these places, and so it's not cheap, and so it's gonna require an investment. But we realized that it was an important investment to make. It's important to be at these expos. It's important to meet as many people as possible, both, you know, influencer and social media and fitness personalities, as well as, you know, everyday people who are just, you know, out there, who are part of fitness, who are part of whatever, who are just, you know, there to have fun and meet people as well, and are supporters, you know. And so we went to the Olympia. That was our first one. That's where I met. That was actually the first expo I'd gone to with 5% as well. But 5% wasn't paying me to be there. I think they paid for my ticket into the expo, but that's it. Like, they weren't paying for airfare or hotel or anything to be there. So I was still paying for that out of pocket with Rob, and we brought our girlfriends. Brittany was his girlfriend at the time. We brought our girlfriends, and we just went to the expo, and we paid for it, and it was a little bit of a vacation too, because, I mean, Vegas, you get to have fun. But the whole purpose of that was to go to the expo and meet as many people as possible. And that's where I met Martin Ford. And then the next expo in line is the LA Fit, and that's in January, and nobody could go to this. Like, Rob had work, Brittany had work, Chrissy had work. I was the only one that had the ability to go. Like, I had flexibility in my schedule, and I could go. And I was thinking about it. I was like, dude, I shouldn't, like, I'm going by myself. Like, I don't know, that's a little intimidating. And also, like, it's gonna cost me a lot of money to go by myself. I have to pay for the hotel completely by myself. I have to rent a car to go down there. I have to do all this stuff. It's going to cost me a lot of money. Maybe I shouldn't go. But then I thought back about it. I was like, no, the goal is to continue to meet people, because you never know who you're going to meet, or what you're going to do, or what those relationships that you, like, foster at these early stages, what they're going to lead to in the future. And so I went, and I stayed at my buddy's house, and I went to the expo, I went to Gold's, I did all that cool stuff, and I did it solo, and I met all these people through that expo, and I ended up actually getting to spend a ton of time with Martin. Like, we went out to lunch a couple times, and we just talked about business, and, like, got to know each other, and, you know, what the plans for the future, what end goals were going to be, like, where we wanted to be in the future. And it was actually really refreshing. He was a really awesome dude, and I was like, you know, this is cool. It's cool to meet somebody and be on the same wavelength. And so, flash forward, you know, three years, yeah, and I'd met him at, you know, a couple of expos along the way. Like, I'd seen him at a couple of expos. You know, nothing like crazy. Like, we were friendly. Like, hey man, how's it going? Like, how things going? How's business? Blah blah blah. Like, just catching up. And then I saw him at this past Olympia, and we actually had a long conversation, probably the longest conversation we'd had in a while. And, you know, just all the cool things he's working on, the cool things I'm working on, and it was a good interaction. And then, like, a couple weeks later, he shoots me a DM on Instagram, and he's just like, hey man, like, let's hop on the phone call, let's talk, because I really want you to be a part of this company that I'm working on. Like, we're getting ready to make a big launch. I want you to be a part of it. Like, I like what you're about. Like, you're a passionate dude, and you've got a good look, and I like what you're about. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, like, let's talk. And so we talked about it, and it was a good talk. We really, sorry, got a text message, and it was a good talk. And so this whole relationship, and we're working on some cool shit with Ignite. I'm super excited about some of the opportunities that are being, you know, given to me, and that we're working on together, and I'm really excited about that. And that whole opportunity came from just a quick interaction. It stemmed from a very small interaction initially, and then, like, 4 years ago, right? That's when we first met. You know, just passing by. But I made the effort to go down there. Made the effort to kind of put myself out there. I invested time, I invested money to go down there, to hang out at the expo, to meet as many people as possible. And from that, I didn't get any immediate return. Like, I didn't get anything out of it initially, right? I got a picture with Martin, like, hey, for social media, like that's probably about the extent of it in terms of like actual, like, tangible value. But it was like an investment for the future, because from that has grown this other opportunity with Ignite Nutrition and with Martin, and some cool opportunities that are available now to me that maybe wouldn't have been available if I had never gone. If I'd been like, you know what, I shouldn't go to the LA Fit, it's going to cost me money, there's no real benefit to me going right now, it's actually going to cost me a lot of money. But I was like, screw it, I went, and I put the effort out there without any hopes of anything in return. Like, I didn't expect anything in return. I just put it out there, and then I went about my business working hard at what I've initially was working at, right? And it just slowly matured and grew into this awesome relationship that has led me to these great opportunities. And so the end, I think a couple takeaways from that is putting yourself in opportunities or putting yourself in situations where opportunity has a chance to become available to you, right? If I just sat at home on Instagram watching TV or watching football, just being like, hey, I wish I was at the LA Fit Expo, or I wish I was at the Olympia, or I wish I was at the Arnold, or I wish I was at so-and-so, I actually took the time and the effort, and I put forth all of that, and I went and I did it with no expectation of getting anything in return. Just simply putting myself in a situation where I was be surrounded by all these amazing people, all these great, like, influencers and fans and people who support Gunsmith. Put myself in that situation where I'm readily available to them all and surrounded by all of them, and I'm making an effort. I'm not being a douchebag. I'm not pretending like, oh, dude, I got 20,000 followers on Instagram. Like, how do you not know who I am? I'm James fucking Mooney. No, I wasn't being a douchebag. I was just being an accepting, open fucking person, being who I really was. And I can't tell you the amount of opportunities that have come from just going to these expos and just being around people who are like-minded, who are in the same industry, and all these opportunities have opened for me just by simply going to these places. Not even counting the amazing people that I've met, like, not even counting the hundreds and maybe thousands of people I've met at these expos. Not even counting all that, the just pure opportunities that presented themselves to me from being at these expos and kind of putting myself out there without any expectation of anything in return. All right, and I think that's key, and I think it's underutilized by a majority of people, especially nowadays, because people think that, like, everything can be done through social media. And yes, social media is a powerful, powerful tool, but it's never going to outweigh the power of a one-on-one human connection, right? At least I would hope not. That's my hope. But yeah, I'm getting away from the topic. The main point of this all is to kind of tell you guys, like, go out there, put yourself in scenarios where you're not necessarily going to get anything in return right away, right? Don't go in there with the expectation of, this is what I'm going to get. I'm going to meet so-and-so and they're going to offer me a job. No, go in there, be open, be yourself, and just meet as many people as possible, because you never know who you're going to meet or what that interaction is going to lead to in the future, all right? And don't always expect, I need something right now in return. It doesn't work that way. Relationships take time to develop, and if honestly, if you just come out there and you're like, I want this fucking job, give me a job, so and so, sometimes it might work, but the majority of the time you actually end up coming off really shitty. And I'll see that at some of these expos and some of the interactions I've witnessed, and some people that are just going overly like, hey, follow me on social media, this is me, look at my transformation picture, and it becomes all about them, as opposed to just being a genuine fucking person and you know, making a meaningful interaction with somebody. And so that's kind of where I was. I don't know, maybe that made no sense, maybe that didn't make any sense to you, maybe it did make a lot of sense to you. Personally, I think it's an underutilized tactic nowadays. I think a lot of people kind of, it becomes easy to just sit back and be like, hey, I'm just gonna, you know, wait for an opportunity to present itself. No, you have to put yourself out there. You have to put yourself in a position to where an opportunity can come to you, but where you can also go and grab an opportunity. And it goes beyond the fitness industry. I mean, there's literally there's an expo or a convention or, you know, events for just about every single business you can be in. I was in the Olympia this past year, and there was a window dressings convention. No shit, like a window dressings, like blinds and shit. It was a convention for that. Like, there were people that flew to fucking Vegas to go to a convention and walk around a convention floor and look at window dressings and interact with other people in the window dressing industry. Like, that's a thing. So it doesn't matter what business you're in, you know, sales, you know, supplements, farming. There's an expo or a convention, and my advice to you is to go to as many of these as possible. You know, go to as many of them as possible, even if you don't have a booth, even if you don't know anybody there. That's why you go to it. You go there to meet people and interact and be around people with a like-minded outlook, you know, or like-minded goals. And so you got to put yourself out there if you're going to ever attempt to get anything back in return. And like I said, also, you got to expect, you can't go in there with the expectation of getting an immediate return. You know, I went to those expos 4 years ago, met those people 4 years ago, invested, you know, $1,000 to fly down to LA, rent a car, stay with buddies, you know, buy food, pay for entry. You know, I spent a lot of money, and probably couldn't really necessarily afford to spend that money at the time. But I was like, you know what? It's going to be worth it. There's going to be some value out of this eventually. You know, it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next year, it may not be 2 years from now, but there's going to be some value out of this. All right. Actually, I want to kind of cut it there because I don't want to. I'm gonna cut it there because I don't want to ramble on too long. I mean, I know how I am when I listen to shit like podcasts or YouTube videos, and I end up tuning out, and I've talked for about almost 30 minutes. So I think that's probably about the limit. That plus I don't want to get on a whole bunch of other topics as well. I think if I do a podcast by myself, I kind of want to focus on one topic in particular, and I think the whole networking and investing without the expectation of immediate return is a good topic. And I hope this helped. I hope maybe somebody got something out of it. Leave a comment below or shoot me a DM or something. Let me know what you guys think of this. Like if there's been something where you in the past have, you know, invested or put the time into without the expectation of immediate return, and then later on and down the road it paid off. You know, I'd love to hear that. That's a cool story to me. I'm stoked about that type of stuff. So yeah, leave a comment, shoot a DM, either or. Make sure you tell a friend too, because I really want the podcast to continue to grow, and the more people that end up listening to it, the more opportunities there are for guests to get on here. You know, so yeah. Also, shoot me a DM or leave a comment on future guests you guys would like to hear. I have a list of people that I'm in the process of trying to get on the show, And so, but I'd love to maybe have some suggestions from you guys. You know, who you want to hear, who you want to listen to, and I'll see if I can make that happen. Anyway, I appreciate each and every one of you for listening. I appreciate you guys for taking the time to listen to me ramble on. I appreciate you guys for supporting Gunsmith Clothing. 4 years, going on 4 full years now, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thanks for taking the time. Make sure you tell a friend. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys next week. Stay savage, my friends.